I'll go over it in the stream actually. So. All right. Make sure everything's working here. Hold on a second. What were you talking about? Circles? What circles? From the plane? For sprinklers. Yeah, it could reach all sides in a circle. If it was a square, it wouldn't hit the corners. It would waste water. Okay, stream should be good, right? Let's see. Yeah, looks like it. Well, just to show you, that's what I was talking about on EOS. As soon as I entered, immediately went up. And then a wick down here took me out on 30% of my position. And the rest of my bag I was holding, never moved up my stop loss on the rest of it. And then we dipped down below the EMAs, hit right where my entry was, right there on that green candle. And then ever since then, it's been moving right up. So just breaking the support now for a 9% profit. So I'm going to move my stop loss to right here, which I think I might have already done. I have to check. I might have done that last night. To 657. Move my stop loss to right there. That way I have all these supports to protect my stop loss. Now I could move it to right here because there was a good support right here at 679. I could place my stop loss right around 675. But that's a little bit more aggressive, which is fine. Some people, you want to lock in more profits. Some people want to lock in less profits and give it to more of an edge to what could be rather than what is. So if you place your stop loss right here, there's an increased chance that a quick wick down will stop you out. If you place your stop loss here and the price does come all the way back down and stops me out, you will obviously have made more profit, so it's better to have a higher stop loss. But again, if you're looking forward to what potential lies ahead on this particular trade, which I am, I think there's a lot of potential here, we can keep going all the way up to the major resistance up around these areas. So if we go up to the mid $7 range, I'll make a hell of a lot more money. So I'd rather take on a little bit less risk so I don't get stopped out on a quick little wick or something like that. You know, imagine like right here, imagine you didn't see this wick and you placed your stop loss right where this support is because you only saw this one and all these others stopping right there. So you placed it a little lower, then you get stopped out on this wick before it goes back to moving up. It kind of sucks. So I like to play it a little bit more conservatively. I'll move my stop loss up, but not too aggressively. I keep it down, so I'm only locking in anywhere from 40 to 60% of the total overall profit. Now, once we get up to 15 to 20% profit, then I'll start locking in more, 60 to 80% of my profit. I'll get a little bit more aggressive with it because in those scenarios, if it does have a big correction and stops you out and you never moved up your stop loss, you could potentially lose 10% profit. When you're only up 10%, you're talking about giving up an extra 3%, 2% to have a more conservative stop loss like here. If I placed it up here, I'd be locking in 6.5% instead of 3.75% roughly. So I'm only giving up 2.75% or under 3% to have a little bit more security. But if we were up 20% on this thing, I wouldn't want to place my stop loss and only lock in 10% of it. So hopefully that makes sense. Anyway, that's my EOS trade. Looks really good from the entry the other day. For those who are in it, still in it, good for you. For those who missed out, better get in the next one. I'm just breezing through my existing trades really quick just to take a look at them. This is the XRP trade from last night. Then we'll get to BTC and the other all. So last night, for those who caught it, entered right here on XRP because of all the support we had. looking at this model, you can see all of my Ichimoku dynamic support, the 222 EMA and the 55 and the 99 EMA. Looking at this chart when we were sitting right there, I figured, all right, we retrace a little bit. We have the 222 as the first primary support, and then we have the 99 and the 55 after that. And then we have the top of the cloud as another Ichimoku dynamic support. Well, look how strong the 222 held. That thing held like a champ. It's like 6 hourly, 4 hourly candles in a row that either bounced directly off of the 222 or, in the case of this last one, had a little wick down, but the body of the candle, meaning a majority of that trading from open to close, fell right at the 222, and then we've gone back up since then. So you can see why my Ichimoku model matters so much, because it gave us an ideal entry based on the support, and sure enough, the support held, as I usually expect it to. So that's XRP. Probably move up my stop loss to risk-free pretty soon, maybe when we break the 416 resistance right there. I'm not going to worry about locking in profit because that's only like 3%. I'll move up to my entry so I'm risk-free. That way, if the price does come down and I get stopped out, I can't possibly take a loss. Eliminating that risk is a big part of my trading strategy, because even if I don't have a profit locked in, just knowing that I'm not risking any of my capital means that I'm coming out on top. Because if I get stopped out, I got a chance to make a trade, learn something, practice my skills without actually losing any of my capital. It's a free experience. And then obviously my Knowles trade, which is looking really sharp right now. Either way, I think we get a big move up here. So it's going to be a B wave and part of a larger correction. Or if the market's bullish enough, this entire correction right here could just be the full ABC. But for that to happen, that means we're only retracing to like the 236 at most. So an analysis like that, generally you're not going to see something like that unless you are hyper bullish. And in my 10K scenario for BTC, I actually explained that. On my 10K BTC model, I explained how it looks like there might be a 236 retrace on the on BTC with that model, and I said for that to happen, it has to be extremely bullish, because if you're only retracing to the 236, you think about how many more targets you have after that. There's not a lot of people selling, because if there were more people selling, you'd be retracing to a 0.5 or maybe even a 382 in a bullish scenario. To retrace only to the 236 means that the only people that were selling was people who were taking some profit, and besides that, people are just constantly buying. And there's all buy pressure, very little selling pressure. That seems to be the case here for Knowles if we end up bouncing right here. If this is a continued correction, that makes more sense. If we bounce here and we exceed my B target at this resistance, I'll be thinking we're going to keep running up indefinitely. And if we were to go and double top all the way up here at 117 pretty much, that would be the ultimate bullish signal. If we can get back up there in short order, we're going to go straight up to $2 on Knowles. Ton of potential on this coin. There has been for the last year. I've been constantly talking about it. 2 years at this point. What I really like about this, clean it up a little bit for now. So you can see the falling wedge right here forming this pennant. So this pennant is formed by a falling wedge, which by itself is a very bullish geometric formation that I really like. A falling wedge is always a great sign when I'm looking for potential breakouts. That's one of the best tools I have. When I do my breakout calls, I'll find a strong falling wedge when all the other variables come into play. It's bouncing off of support right here. There's additional horizontal supports other than our Ichimoku dynamics with the EMAs. We have an overall we have an overall wave count that could be that could fit a continued impulse up here. So there's a lot to be bullish about here, and a lot of great signs. Look, we're making a move right now even. So once we do and we get up here and we break into $1 territory again, just a couple more cents to go. Once we do that, we have a lot of support on the way up. As we pass these levels, we're going to build more and more support, and that's what I'm looking for. So keep an eye out for that. There we go. All right, so we'll come back to Knowles. We'll check in with her in a little bit and see if she's working. So this is the link entry I put out last night. A couple different entries. The first entry I had, I actually almost got stopped out of. I hadn't placed my stop loss yet because it dropped like right after it dropped down like right after I had shared it and right after I jumped in myself. But I got lucky on that one. We should be able to finish this 5 waves up to like 225, which is, that's huge for a link to get up to 2.25 after the run we've had over the last month and a half. But it's definitely got some juice left. There's no reason to think she's going to crash now, especially after she's getting strong news with the Google announcement and stuff. I think Link continues from a fundamental basis, plus the technicals, which obviously give us a very bullish scenario. My ZRX trade I stopped out of, but then immediately went up, unfortunately. It happens. So I missed out on that one. LTC, I'm holding a shit ton of LTC. It is my favorite major for sure. Used to be Bitcoin Cash, now LTC took over. That's my new fave. Yeah, we're continuing up. We got a strong trend here. No reason to expect this to fail anytime soon either. Right there. Very strong uptrend. Plus we got support from the EMAs here, prior supports. I'm probably going to want to come up with new supports up here since we're getting up into the higher territories. We haven't been up here since beginning of last year. So once we break this top here, I'm going to need to come up with some new supports. I'll go back and refer to my old analyses from a year ago, and that'll give us more insight to those higher 100 plus areas. So we'll take a look at that. Look at this bounce right off the 55. I love seeing that because then if you were to set an order to buy right at the 55 and it caught that bounce, that would be the perfect entry. But then there are some corrections where you do break through the EMAs, obviously. We just saw that with Knowles, but since that just happened, I think we're at the point now where we make the first move up, come back down, and then we bounce off the EMAs like we did here. Then we came back down, bounced off the EMAs, except it didn't hold. It finally broke through to correct. So we're going to have to see what happens with this support up here. But we have a ton of it. We have both EMAs, we have the cloud, we have this trend line support, and we have $133 support right there. So all in all, we're in a great position with LTC. If you're holding it, I wouldn't think about selling it just yet. Give it some time and see if we can break into the 150 territory because that would be epic. That's a huge hurdle to jump. If we can get over this old 786 fib retracement, and this is from the main drop, I think, the beginning of last year, if we can get back up above 150, we're talking about huge bullish sentiment is going to just sprout everywhere. People who weren't bullish in LTC are all going to be flocking into her. I'm telling you, that's a huge key psychological barrier at 150. All right, let's play with BTC a bit and see what she's telling us. Anybody have any questions on the alts we just ran through? Hopefully somebody in Discord voice channel has questions. It's much easier than typing and shit. I'm going to sit here and hit my vape until one of you motherfuckers answers me. He lives.
Hey, Vader, can you able to listen?
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, for Litecoin, do you think like before halving it will dump? It will take a dump?
Before Halloween or the halving?
Halving.
Okay. It could. It would be sort of like a situation with a pump going into like a fork or something like that. People will buy just to ride up the rumor pump, anticipating the halving. But it depends. If you're if you believe that it's going to proceed exactly like Bitcoin did, and you're in it for long term, you wouldn't sell. I think there could be a short term dump just from people who wanted to ride the pump up, and that was it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would really build that into the model too much. What I would probably do is maybe I have a big long on Litecoin. So what could be a good idea is for me to take my long-term Litecoin position, move that onto the exchange because now it's in cold storage, and then I could set a stop loss that if we do get a dump, if we get a huge dump right before it, I'll get stopped out. So say we get up to like 155, 160, and then we dump. Say we get up to 175 and then we dump. I probably would set my stop loss to lock in all but maybe like 5% of that profit. And worst case scenario, it dumps really quick and then it moves up again. I could always buy back in. But if it dumps like 15, 20%, that would take me out with a majority of the profit. That's probably the best way to play it just to make sure you're safe. I wouldn't say you should sell and get out because I'm not that convinced that we would see a dump. But I would say you definitely want to have a stop loss set up even on your long-term positions. So just in case we do have a big dump, you can get out at the ideal possible time. But yeah, people who are into Litecoin because they're theorizing that the halving will proceed like what happened with Bitcoin, there's no reason to sell. I mean, in 2017, the first halving with Bitcoin, it immediately skyrocketed. Like the second it happened, the price immediately shot up. And that was back in 2012, I think. The more recent one from 2017, it dipped a little bit, if I recall, after, because I was actually holding Bitcoin then. Not for the first one. I wish I was holding Bitcoin in 2012, 2013, whenever it was. It was I think they said 6 years. It was 6 years ago, the first one. So yeah, the 2017 one had a little bit of a dump after, but it's not like it continued dropping down like crazy before it finally caught its breath. It pretty much went straight up after the halving. So if you're holding because of the halving, why would you sell right before it if you're anticipating the halving itself to have a bullish effect on the market? Because it definitely did with Bitcoin. Both times it led to a dramatic pump in price. Of course, Bitcoin's different than Litecoin anyway. Litecoin doesn't drive the entire market, so it's much less important. I don't know. I don't have any history on what happens when you see a halving on one of these altcoins because it's never happened before because they all came after Bitcoin, right? So Litecoin's never had one because it only came out 3 years ago. But yeah, it's a good idea to set a stop loss though, just because so many people are talking about a potential dump. It's probably safe. And it's better just to take your entire Litecoin position, long term, short term, whatever. Set a stop loss on all of it. I'm up so much on it, to be honest. Maybe I'll just set like a 10% stop loss so it only stops me out if it really, really dumps. But yeah, that's probably what I'll do. What are you thinking?
Yep, I agree.
You know what I mean? Are you with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the best course of action. Let's see.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you, it looks like Nose is trying to go for it right now.
Oh yeah. Nice. All right, you know what I'll do then? Let's do... Please. This one. Yeah, there we go. Well, XRP is pushing more too, but Knowles is what I'm more interested in since I just put half of my trading capital available in there. Where's it up now? All right, so Knowles broke $1 like we were looking for, right at that 0.5, 50% fib retrace. So yeah, this could be it. We'll see what happens. We've got a few more resistances that we have to break, but yeah, as we move up, we're gonna see it break more and more. It's kind of hard to see because there's so many crazy wicks because this was a big pump and that happens a lot. But there is a support right around here, just before the 236 that she's coming up against. That's where she's holding right now. So once she gets above this rough area and hits that 236, once she gets up to like 102, then mostly wide open. This white support used to be a strong support, but it since kind of fell apart. I probably wouldn't pay much attention to that. There really isn't any strong support till we get back up to this 108 to 110 range. So let's see what she does. I'm gonna set an alert right here, right before that old white support, so we can get a pop up if she ends up hitting. While we look at BTC. Anybody else just want to watch Knowles? Exactly off the 618. Like, that's perfect. This time, too. So the first time when I identified this entry, I was like, you know what? That candle didn't quite hit the 55 EMA, but it bounced exactly at that 618 retracement. Great sign. That's the time to get in. Then it turns back down for a second and bounces again exactly at the 618 before breaking out. Talk about being on point. Oh, God. I love it when my analyses come out this good. It's like watching your child grow up. You're watching your trade come to fruition, sort of matching up with the model you've charted out for her. I'm going to tweet, how much do you have budgeted out for therapy to deal with the depression that will overwhelm you for missing out on nulls? So let's go back to BTC. We'll come back and check on her if she gives us an alert. So before my work was done exclusively on the Bitfinex chart, then I moved to the Coinbase chart. So this still has a lot of stuff on it, not nearly as much as my Bitfinex chart. So this is actually pretty empty relative to the Bitfinex chart. I don't think I have to pull up the Bitfinex chart, but now the reason I've sort of moved a little bit to the Bitstamp chart was only because of that new 10K count I came up with, that new analysis I released, where I had that count taking us into a fifth wave right now with a target upwards of $10,000. So that's why this is the Bitstamp chart. It doesn't have nearly as much content on there, but you can see a gist of it. So we had, God damn it. Yeah, so we had this resistance here, which you can see matches up with what we had on the Coinbase chart. We had a resistance right here at 89.35. On the Bitstamp, it's at 89.46, so it's about $10 off. But, you know, still pretty close. So we broke through that resistance in either case. So that's a good sign. That's not just, you know, one particular exchange. That's happening on both exchanges. Now, the prior top, when was that from? Where did I draw that? Okay, so I drew this. It actually should have gone a little bit higher. This fib retracement should have gone all the way to the top of that candle, but whatever. So we can ignore that. That's nothing. This yellow line here, that's a resistance at the top of that candle, which is going to form a double top. I think this wick to that level was kind of insignificant. It was just one of those quick pumps where somebody, right at the top of this big candle's move, somebody placed a market order, pushed the price up to 91.01, and then came back down. So I don't pay much attention to those wicks like that. I more or less ignore them. I don't factor them into my analysis, in other words. But I noted this as a potential resistance, so I have it noted here. I don't think it's going to give us a problem. I think beyond that, we're moving back up, going back north. Same thing here without my Bitfinex chart. I don't have any upper resistances because I haven't charted these as much, these more recent charts. So I'm going to have to do that. Let's do it on here. Let's take a look on the Coinbase chart together. You know, you can see my process. So since we've been so down for so long and now we're coming back up, what you have to do to be able to get everything on the screen, you got to start looking at higher time frames and zooming out, because I want to be able to get back to this area over here. Now I'm going to make a note and say, all right, so the top right now is kind of between these red lines. All right, so now I know what I'm looking for. So now I can go all the way back to here, and I could try to identify support and resistance up in these ranges. So I'm going to look, obviously down here, this matches up, which is, I knew it would. So this is back at the end of 2017 and then into early 2018. So looking near these two up here is where we currently are. So I'm going to look up here and see if I can spot any horizontal supports where we had a lot of tops, you know, that sort of thing. That's an interesting one right there. What else we got? Now you might not even really see that one, but that is certainly a interesting support and resistance that a lot of people might not spot, but I happen to really like doing the support and resistance thing. So check this out. Big rejections here. Over here we broke through a little bit, but more or less that general area was very strong as a resistance once we came back below it. We were up above it, and then we came back below it. But this is always important. When you're looking for something like this and you see a strong support or resistance that looks like it could be a strong one, but it keeps getting broken, what you want to do is look up close and see what's happening when it does get broken. So look what happened here. When this got broken, this candle closed right at that support. Next candle opens right at that support and never goes below it. So we're back above that support. And then when we come down, look, strong support from that support resistance, which happened to meet up right with the EMA, even though this is the 4-hour chart. But we're coming down pretty hard here, and look where it gets support, right there. So then we bounce back up and come back down. A huge candle it takes to finally break through. And then after we do break through, we keep getting rejected off of that support. We broke through on these candles a little bit, but not a significant amount. Generally speaking, with these sorts of support and resistances, when you're looking at charts like this, where you have that much volume coming in and out, it's very common for a couple of orders here and there to just skew the data a little bit. So I like to think of every support and resistance as this, a really small range like that. You're not going to draw this as a range and say right here is the top and the bottom, but you can illustrate it just to kind of point out that this one particular support and resistance can range anywhere from like $50 right here. Anyway, but yeah, overall, then all these rejections here. So that still fits. Even though we were breaking through it, we had some candles that broke it. Look at all these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 candles in a row that got rejected right off of this resistance. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still quite a valid support and resistance. Plus we have the same thing happening over here. The candles switch and then the support. And then going back to over here, you can see this was actually a strong support on this big drop immediately after the big pump when we first got into 2018. That's where we actually held. So this is going to be crucial. It's also right at the 618 retracement. That first big dump after we maxed out at 20K took us right to the 618 retracement almost perfectly. These candles here, again, getting rejected before switching over. Same thing over here. The candle split occurs right at that support. So this is going to be a very, very key support. Call it 9,400, 9,380. Hopefully everybody understands how I spotted that. But that's what I do. I go back and look in the past, and I try to identify prior strong supports. I bet you any amount of money when we get up to... We can be pumping like crazy tonight or tomorrow and get all the way up to 9,300. As soon as we hit 9,380, we're going to instantly stop and find strong resistance there. Could we break through? Yes, I would be absolutely blown away if that doesn't hold as a support. So now let's keep looking. Let's say, all right, because once we get up above here, we want to look in these areas as well. So right here, this is similar. It's not as clean, but there was a lot of crazy trading going on back then. You can see overall, this is like 8 candles in a row, right? Stopping right where my red 97.35, right where my mouse is. 97.40. Right here, this big move up got rejected right there. Over here, a bunch of candles were getting rejected right there. Finally broke up and came back down. Over here, you can't see it because it's up close, but there's some wicks here that were bouncing right off of this level. Over here, it keeps getting violated. It gets, broken 20 times, so it doesn't seem like it fits as well. But then over here, again and again, we get a lot of support and some resistance from that level. I would consider that a more minor support resistance, so maybe that white one down below is a strong support and resistance. And this will just be a minor SR. I probably won't even necessarily leave it on the chart just for now, just to illustrate, what we're doing and everything you can see. Then the top of this big move, that's usually a good support and resistance. It seems like it found some support and resistance over here too, some over here, but it hasn't held that well. And then once we get up to these higher levels, we got to start zooming out even more. Oh, that was... See, I was zoomed in, so I didn't even realize when this was off screen like that. This wasn't the big pump. I'm only in the 4 hour, not on the daily, so this only takes me back to March. I wasn't even looking at this whole area over here. But let's do that. That'd be interesting. So we were just looking at... Okay, just to illustrate this for a second. So this is where we were looking, right? And I didn't realize where we were. Now that I realize how far out we were. If I zoom out like that, let's follow these back even further. Boom. Support, minor support, support. Look at that. Support, 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 support. So this top one that I noted as a minor support was still a very, very helpful support and resistance there. Now let's look at this one. Super support, super resistance, super support again right here. So now you guys hopefully see what I'm talking about, right? I identified this as a strong support based on what we were looking at together. I didn't even know this looked like this back here. I identify that as a strong support over in this area right here. Even though it got broken several times, I noted the things that I was explaining to you, how some of these candles switch right at that level. We get a lot of candles here getting rejected there. So we went over all that stuff, and then as I go further back, we couldn't see this on the screen before. But over here, strong resistance, very strong support on this huge dump. Major support right there, holding us up right at 9,500. Over here, major resistance on this big dump right here. That could have kept going a lot further. It held exactly where that support is. So hopefully now you see exactly what I mean when I say that support and resistance is the most important thing you guys need to be focusing on to learn. Once you understand that, think about what you can do. I was able to find a local area of support here because I'm really good at spotting them because of my training. And with that information, I was actually able to go back and show that it was a very strong support at some of these major key points in the history of that big pump right here. And then right here, the first big sell-off before it bounced and went back up. So armed with that information, what do you think you could do with the future, right? If we were able to identify support and resistance from a year ago, based on what we saw right here in this part towards, you know, the latter half of last year, if we were able to do all that, what do you think we could do today? How helpful is that information going to be right here when the price gets up to 93.80 and we see our chart right here butting up against our resistance that nobody else even knows is there because nobody else has spent the time and dedicated the time to support and resistance like that, where they're going to go back and look at an old chart just trying to find support from a year ago. But I do, because it's that important. That information is that helpful and that valuable. So again, I bet anything that this is going to hold as a strong resistance when we get up there. And a bunch of people are going to be saying 9,500 is the next resistance because that's where the fib extension is, because none of them know that 93.80 is a very strong support. And voila. I would bow right now if you could see me. What do you guys think? Give me some feedback. Is it not as impressive as I think it is? Feedback. Yo.
That is pretty impressive, actually. Now I finally figure out how to make one for me well.
How to make them what?
I finally figured out how to make on this.
How to make what on it?
But I was saying that is
No, I can't. You keep going out. Is everybody else having that problem? Every time you talk, it goes robotic. You guys hearing that with him as well? Because I can't hear a thing he's saying. Yeah, everybody else is hearing it too. Maybe you got a shitty signal.
He was saying that's an impressive call.
Yeah, and then he said, I finally figured out how to
make my microphone work, but I guess it's still not working.
That's really funny. That's awesome.
Took me a minute.
Yeah, take your time.
Am I still sounding robotic?
No, it's better.
Alright, much better, thanks.
So yeah, that's I hadn't planned that at all. I just sort of thought I just did it live with you, and it worked out perfectly because I couldn't have found a better spot to show you how important it is to identify support and resistance, and how that little bit of information from a 3-month period that we were looking at from 2018 March April, you go back and that exact same support and resistance was absolutely crucial. It happened to be the support that stopped the first massive sell-off after we hit 20,000, and it stopped that major retrace on the way up when it was still down in the $10,000 range on the way up to 20,000. It stopped that other sell-off. So that support happened to be crucial back then, and just hold on, wrong one. Here we go. Yeah, so this support resistance happened to be crucial during the big run, and afterwards it happened to be crucial in the middle of 2018. So I'd be willing to bet anything we're going to get some strong resistance. If it breaks through, I'll be disappointed because it would really make this whole example from an educational perspective be so perfect for it to actually hold. But you guys get the point. Just from looking back in time even further, you can see these supports are valuable pieces of information a year later. Like, it can be 6 months before, 6 months after, and these supports still hold. It's amazing. It's not, I don't know how to explain it other than there's certain psychological areas where people tend to trade a lot. There are bots that probably don't get updated much and they're set up to buy at a certain price. I don't know why it would still be the case after that much time, but it is. It is for sure. I just showed you it is, and in the future you'll notice some of the charts we do now, if we end up getting a big correction on nulls in the future and we're going back down to, the 40 or 50 cent region, we're going to have all these supports on this chart that we were working on, and everybody else is going to be clueless, and we're going to be able to identify this super support at 53.56 cents. Everyone else is going to say, how the hell did you call that bottom? Well, because we had this support from 2019 when nulls was down in that area. All right, come on, girl. Keep going. Got to break that minor resistance, like 103. It's going to be key. Break through that. This white one will fail. The 382 probably won't hold all that well. And then we can run all the way up to the higher resistance levels up here, between 108 and 110. That's where we're going to get some resistance. If you think about this as like a 1, 2, 3, get rejected right there, 4, and then we break through for wave 5 to make the ABC. Actually, no, this would actually be an ABC as well, because an ABC is 5, a zigzag is 5, 3, 5. So this would be a 5-wave impulse, 3-wave correction, 5-wave impulse.
Quick question for you, Vader.
Yep.
What level have you moved your stop loss to? So, like, for me, for example, I got into nulls at like 88 cents, and I moved my stop loss to 93 or 94 cents, just in case I don't get stopped out. But what level would you recommend for it?
I gotta get back my old trades here. Shit. Damn it. I don't think I saved it since I deleted those. Let me see. Hold on. Come on, come on, come on. I hope I saved the chart. I'll explain what I'm doing in a minute, but I just hope I saved this. Shit, I did save it.
Well, you look, Nose just paid off my membership already.
Yep, there you go.
Same here.
Actually, a couple times.
Ha! I had to undo work that I did on a bunch of other charts, like Litecoin and stuff, to get back, because I deleted my old trades here to make this cleaner, and I forgot. So since I deleted them, and then I've gone onto the Litecoin chart, and I've gone on to the Bitcoin chart, and I made changes to a bunch of other charts and stuff. So I just had to do Control Z to undo all my work going back for like 15 minutes just to get back here with my. Oh God, you guys realize I'm a god, right? If honestly, I'm a god. I'm sorry, but I'm a fucking god.
Oh shit, knows.
Yeah, I'm a god. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like I'm a god.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
Oh, this is absolutely nuts. All right, now I go to Twitter and yell at everybody. One sec. Oh, look at that. Oh yeah, I'm a god. Okay. I'm sorry. What'd you guys say? Oh, I'm a god. Oh, I couldn't hear you. I got it now. Now I heard you. What? Oh, crypto god. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'll take that. Not a bad moniker. The god of all Jews and cryptos with a huge wang. All right, you guys are making up the nicknames. That's fine. All right, just gonna troll Twitter a bit.
Guess where I'm making money on Vader?
Huh?
I said, guess where I am making money on?
Guess what you're making money on? Oh, I don't know. Maybe somebody came up with an insanely amazing trade.
On Grin coin.
On what coin?
Grin.
Grin coin?
Yeah.
What the hell's that?
Wimble dimble thing?
No.
No? Did you get it?
Did not. Hold on. What is this guy saying?
It just walked into the top 100. Wimble. There were 2 coins launched back about 4 months ago.
No, I don't remember. Oh, you know what? Let me just check this. Alright, sorry, let me get back to it. Alright, let's get back to our girl. Well, this one candle's retraced. Come on, keep going. See, even if we do get a more bullish count. So now on nulls, I haven't touched my stop loss yet. I'm just thinking. Lock in. See, we don't have a really great support. We're actually right back to where that same support was. Remember I was telling you this is kind of like a minor support. Since it got broken so many times, it's still kind of a minor support. You could see it right here. You'll be able to spot these things with the naked eye eventually. It's hard to explain. I just sort of see a line here without it being there. But yeah, that is a good minor support. We just retrace back to it. I would say we can get rid of that extra. There we go. I don't want to get stopped out on this, so that's why I'm hesitant. I'm gonna move my stop loss up and leave it like all the way up here. Like I'm gonna lock in 1% profit, not because I care about the 1%. It's safe, just because it just happens to be there. If that was randomly 3% where it was, I don't care about locking in that little amount, obviously. But it is what it is. You're able to move up your SO. Since you're just done. Okay. Well, we'll let her make her next decision pretty soon. So yeah, you guys get the point. We went over BTC. We have that strong support resistance at 93.80. That's going to come in handy, as well the 97.50. And then we'll go up another level. We'll start looking next live stream. We can look at other supports and resistance as we get closer to 10K, because that's going to be handy if we make it up there. If that newer count that I came up with actually pushes us all the way to 10K. It's going to be helpful to have that information that nobody else has. We're going to have a head start on every other trader because we're going to have supports identified that they don't even know exist. All right. We'll call it a night. Anybody have any questions? I told you I wasn't feeling well, so I might live stream again tomorrow night. But I'll take a few minutes if you guys have other things you wanted to quickly chat about. Anybody in voice, you guys get priority. Discord voice channel.
I'm good on my end, man. Thank you for coming out tonight. Much appreciated.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
105 and 111. Yeah, he's talking about the 382. White House, he said. Hold on. right. Anybody in Discord had any other questions or anything you wanted me to quickly run over? Nobody in the voice channel has any questions. So anybody in Discord chat, text chat. XRP. Someone asked about XRP. We didn't talk about that. Do an SL adjustment on that. Oh, we did. That's a good support.
I'm curious, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hey, finally, there's a bug with my phone and get the mic to work in Discord.
Aha. You heard everything though, right? The whole stream?
Yep, I heard everything and kept talking, and I was like, that asshole's ignoring me.
There's only one woman in my life I ignore. For most men, it would be their wife, but for me, it's my mother. See, I'm Jewish, so you have to ignore your overbearing Jewish mother. So yeah, we got a few supports, resistance, mostly minor support and resistance. This is a good one though. I like this one at 4142 on XRP. That's a pretty good SR. You can see over here a lot of rejections. That you can see the transition from candle to candle, just like we talked about on BTC. Supports over here. So just because one support happens to get broken a bunch on a coin like this, especially something that bounces back and forth constantly, those supports can't always hold it. When you have a support like that, what you're seeing is the actual orders on the order book. When you have a buy wall or a sell wall, that forms a support. So right here, say it's 42,000. If at 42,000, there's a bunch of orders in the order book, and everybody's trying to buy right at that price. So there's an order for like 50 BTC worth of XRP. Then every time the price gets up there, those orders are going to start, I guess, down, because if the buy order, that would be, well, it's coming down. So say it's dropping, and then it hits 42K right here, and then all those buy orders are sitting there, and people are selling and selling. That's just a buy wall. So when people talk about, oh, look at that buy wall or that sell wall, that means on the buy side of the order book, there are a ton of orders. So when you're looking at it with like the depth chart, it has like what looks like a huge wall. It's either red or green. In this case, it would be green. And as we're selling into it, there's so many orders there trying to buy up as much as possible that the price never goes down below that order. Unless that order gets pulled away, or unless that order gets filled because so many people are selling that it fills that big buy wall. So there are a couple ways those walls can go by the wayside. This is one of them. Where you have support and it's just moving like crazy because there's so much volume and everybody's dumping. It just breaks right through your wall. So even if you have a lot of orders there, they all get filled and the price keeps going down. So it's not like support and resistance is always going to hold, even on something like BTC with these really strong ones I was showing you. There are times where they fail. There's times where one big market order goes through and that jumps with a wick and then it goes back. That's why the body of the candle is so important to me, because that shows the highs and the lows where it closed. And then you could tell that's where a majority of that trading occurred. So even if a wick quickly dips down for a split second, the body of the candle tells us that pretty much that support did pretty much hold. So anyway, with XRP, that's what I'm seeing, these minor supports here. We're sitting at one right now. So all I would do for now is just move my initial stop loss to entry. So it will be a risk-free trade. I'm at my break-even point, so I can't possibly lose any of my capital that I put into this trade. So this is when I consider the trade 100% risk-free. Even though there's still some risk, you're risking potential profits, you're risking in other ways, but I'm not risking any of my original capital.
What will be your next stop loss on Link? I'm in that with you, and I'm not sure when to move up my stop loss. It's at 177.
One sec. All right, I'm gonna pull up link in a second. Last question before I do that from Discord. How do you trail your stops? Purely off the averages. What do you prefer? So what I essentially do is I always want to have anywhere from like, Jesus, 1 to 3 supports depending on how strong they are. So right here, since XRP doesn't have really strong supports, this one up here is a pretty strong support and resistance. So if we were to break up above that one, I might place my stop loss with this one protecting it and then this one protecting it. So my stop loss would be below those two supports right around here at like 41.5. But if this wasn't a strong support and these were all 3 relatively weak supports that haven't held that well in the past, I might place my stop loss lower all the way back down here below all the supports because I want to have even more protection. If I have a scenario where there's a lot of really, really strong supports, like we had on BTC or like some of the other alts, like with Knowles, right? Look at my Knowles trade. I'm a lot more comfortable here. At not up top, because up top we haven't really tested them yet. And this is kind of choppy over here as well. This 382, like we talked about before, is a pretty good one. But I'd be really confident about moving my stop loss up to my entry price right here, given all the support we have. This was insanely strong. Moving up to the 1%. As soon as we broke above this 0.5 fib and closed above it right there, we haven't come back down except for a quick wick. So I felt comfortable moving my stop up to lock in 1% profit. This actually is dipping back down and kind of flirting with that, which is making me nervous. Yeah, look, the wick has come all the way back down to here. I really don't want to get stopped out of this trade because it's one that I probably would buy back into. Maybe I'll move my stop loss. Oh, shit, I never even set it to begin with. I'm an idiot. This is what happens when I do live streams. All right, I'm doing this. Changed. It's now risk-free at entry, my new stop loss. This is too erratic and I don't want to get stopped out. But I have to go and change my actual order. Not forget like I did before. Okay, sorry. Let me go on and do that now. That's good. Okay. So last thing we're going to do is take a look at Link, which I have spread out on like 5 different layouts, annoyingly enough. Boom, 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 boom. Everybody else see that support now that I did the boom boom?
Yep.
Okay, where's the next support I'm going to add? Let's see. Not really that much. There's a tough range there. Right up top, obviously, right? That's a good one. I like to just say SR, support resistance, because it's easier than changing it when the price goes above it and it becomes a support, and then the price drops below it, it becomes a resistance. It's such a pain. I just make it SR, it's easier. Yeah, it depends where you got into Link. So ignore these entries here because these were a couple different scenarios. I got in on the first one, the second one never filled, and then it actually dipped down really quick and then went right back up on the next candle. That happened in like a 20-minute window. I had just shared it and I bought into it and never set my stop loss, so I didn't get stopped out here. So I actually still got this bag. And then my other bag that I had somebody talking? Somebody with a fucked up mic is trying to talk and we can't hear anything? Is that what's happening? Alright. Okay, whatever that was. So I'm still in all the way from this entry. I might even be some from my earlier entry, so it's really hard to calculate. So I'm still up 60% here. It's kind of hard to calculate exactly what profit I have without. I'd have to look at like each individual time that I entered. It's such a pain. But so let's just work off of this one. So based off of this most recent entry, we are up 9.5% now. Once we break this is an important resistance here. So if we break 180, this thing is moving. So pay attention to that as well. But yeah, so we're sitting at like 9.5 profit. I'm not worried about locking in profit per se, but avoiding risk. So in this case, so this is a pretty decent support. Over here it got broken a lot over here. It's more of a range. If I had to say, if anything, this might be the bottom of the range, and then this is semi-supportive. Right over here is a little more supportive, and then this would be the top of that range. I can see something like that for me. But seeing as the bottom held so well over here, that would be an ideal entry to use, or an ideal place to protect your stop loss. What else do we have coming up right there? The 55 EMA, right? So we could potentially have the 165 support and the 55 EMA support protecting our stop loss from getting prematurely stopped out. Once we break up above this support, then I'll lock in 6 or 7% profit. I'd be happy to, because once we get up above this level, it's most likely going to hold, and we probably have a bigger move ahead. If we don't break above this level, we could come back down, but as long as we get above that resistance, and we get above 180, then we're in good shape. I can see us easily pushing up to $2. So if that happens, we'll lock in a lot more profit. For right now, you could go really conservative, where you move your stop loss up to your entry, and now you're risk-free. Or, yeah, so you could do that, or you could lock in more profit, keep your stop loss. You're only locking in like 1% here, but let's see. All right, so it's like 1.5%. So this would be like 1.5% locked in. 1.5% profit locked. Jesus. So now if you were to do that, you're locking in a very small profit. It's only 1.5%, but you have this support here, this minor support here, or the minor support here, this support here, and then you have the 55 EMA that's coming up that's now protecting your stop loss as well, which is a really great support to have, obviously. So that would be a good position to place your stop loss. If you wanted to get more aggressive, in theory, you could place your stop loss up like here and lock in about 5% profit. So if it comes back down, you get 5% profit, but if it doesn't come back down, you get a hell of a lot more profit, right? But locking in 5% here, since these candles all dip down into that range, it's totally feasible that a quick wick could come down and stop you out. Then you miss out on the following run. So it's a trade-off. You have to decide whether or not you want to take on more risk or less risk and what that payout's going to be. If you could take on more risk of getting prematurely stopped out, but there's a substantial chance that you're going to make a lot of money, then go for it. I think that the trade, both Knowles and Link, have so much upside over the next 24 hours, potentially. I wouldn't want to get stopped out now on a quick little dip. And that's why Knowles is making me nervous, because I have every confidence that this trade is going to hold for right now. I have no reason to get nervous about it, especially after that initial move up. But I don't like that my stop loss is above the 55 EMA here. I might have been smarter to play this a little safer. If I do get stopped out here, I don't know what I'm going to do. If it goes lower, I'll probably buy in. If it bounces right back up, I might actually have to buy in with like a smaller position. And then I'll just make a note. Don't do that in the future. Don't be so aggressive moving up your stop loss, because I'm usually not. You know what? All right. You see where my stop loss is right here? How strong of a resistance that was? How that was the rejection right over there? And now look over here. Again, right? My current stop loss, which was right at my entry, is now sitting. This was a major resistance right there. A really strong support right here. The next candle support, this candle support. We were riding right along that support, and now we're back up above it. That stop loss is a good support, but I have my stop loss actually set right there. So what I'm going to do is actually move my stop loss for a third time. I'm sorry, I know this is really annoying. So I'm still taking on risk, but it's only 1%. Everybody who's not in the live stream, who hasn't really saw my thought process and understand why I had to go do this, they're going to be so annoyed that I keep posting this in the group, telling everybody, oh, no, different one. Never mind. After discussing Knowles more with the group in live stream, I decided once again to adjust my SL for Knowles so that I'm still taking on about 1% risk. My bad. Let's change. All right. Is everybody clear on everything? Any other questions before we sign off?
Nope. Thank you.
Any criticisms where you want to shit all over my work and tell me I suck? Those are always welcome. I'm a masochist. Maybe I'll go to Twitter and see if I can catch some troll hate. Oh, you guys want to see something? Check this out. Oh, shit. Hold on. What happened? I messed with my account. Hold on a sec. I got to show you guys what I'm doing. Nine, 6, 1, 9, 3. Continue. Okay, check this out. Block this troll. It's a new account I set up. So what I'm doing, I talk to a bunch of guys who have like 15, 20, 30, some guys with 65,000 followers that I'm friends with. And so anytime someone like, it's one thing to like break balls, you know, I can dish it out, I can take it, I love it. I love fucking around with trolls and stuff. They give me a hard time, we joke around, it's all good. But when people start like insulting your family or people start just like constantly posting and where like other people who have serious questions can't even get a word in and they're just insulting all your followers, those people specifically, if you come after any of us on any of our streams, any of our profiles, we're going to boot you. So essentially, I will tweet out a picture of what they said and what they did, and then everybody who has a lot of followers, and even people who don't have a lot of followers, everybody can block them. So essentially, we're just blacklisting you from crypto Twitter. You want to come up with a new troll account, go for it. We're going to blacklist that one too. As soon as you start coming after one of us, you're getting the blacklist, and then you can't ruin it for everybody else. Where you come in, and if you come in and say your model sucks, I think you're wrong about everything. You know me, I'll say, all right, come on, let's talk about it in front of everybody. Let's go. If somebody else gets one of those people and then gets upset and then tries to get me to tweet out that we should block it, I'm going to say, dude, I'm going to block the picture. Everybody's going to see that you were just wrong and he was calling you out on it. So, you know, so it's not like I would never just block people because somebody got upset because some guy with a popular Twitter account doesn't like how someone was talking to him and he asked me to block. You know, this is going to be for, I'm going to post out the actual picture of who's being an asshole and exactly what they said, and then everybody can choose to block or not to block. But I think it's pretty awesome. I think it's going to be kind of cool to finally like stop some of those douchebags from coming in and really just hijacking good conversations that other people are learning from. They'll come in and start talking about crazy shit, then all of a sudden I'm arguing with them, and it's taking away my time. It's taking away time from the people who are there because they want to work with me and learn and ask my advice, you know. So anyway, just want to show you guys. I thought it was cool. Block this troll. You guys are all gonna have to follow, obviously, and retweet. All right. So no other questions, right? We're good. I'm gonna go get ready for bed. I'm still around in the chats if you guys need me, but anybody who came late, this will be back up every stream. Like an hour after we close, every stream goes back up, and you can watch the replay. So if you guys need me, just hit me up. I'll be available in the chat, and I'm still gonna look at the charts, and I'll share another update on Link and Knowles before I go to sleep anyway, assuming they make a move. If they don't make a move, he probably won't do shit. So, but I'm here if you need me. All right, thanks, guys.